Hi, I'm Kiera Iversen. I go to Olathe High School, and my internship was at the Tingwu Lab at Harvard Medical School this summer. So the WU Lab, just a little bit of background information, I'll make it quick, but the WU Lab is a lab that was started by Tingwu, and basically what they do is they study chromosome organization, and they do microscopic imaging of chromosomes to look at the way that they are structured and how that affects genome function, stability, and how that has impacts on diseases. And they have a couple of companies working with biotech companies, as well as creating a bunch of really cool genome imaging technologies, and so that's the lab that I was at. And so one thing I want to talk about is at my internship. So one of the things is basics that I learned while I was at my internship, which was a lot of experiments, like we ran gels, cell painting, which was like staining different cells, looking at different organelles. So like the mitochondria I got to see all by myself with the microscope, as well as some bioimage analysis with some tools and learning how high-tech microscopes work. So right there, that was me. And working with Faye on one of the experiments she was doing. And then right here, that was some of the staining of a cell. This was Fiji, which was very instrumental in the analysis of biological images that we were doing, and the super high-tech microscope that I was using that was way different from our high school microscopes. And then for the first 3 weeks none of this is exact timing, but for the first 3 weeks we were getting the hang of what bioimage analysis is, as well as introducing me to coding, which I had absolutely zero experience with before at all. And so I got to work on that, working with VS Code, GitHub Desktop, learning how to work with other people with code, as well as taking biological specimens, taking images of them, and using things like Google Sheets at first, and then coding in Fiji, and then drawing some conclusions about those images. So right here, right there, we were looking on the stages of cells. So right there, those are some that are like glowing bright pink, or some that we can conclude are probably stage 1 of a cell. This was some of that coding that I had to do, which was great, something that, again, I had no experience with, but I really started to get the hang of it, and it was really gratifying to learn that. And like this is a plot I made with my code that all of these are probably stage 2, these were probably stage 1, somewhere in the beginning and somewhere in between. And then for about the second half of my internship, I was working more predominantly with Faye and her research with telomeres, which are these little end caps of on the genome, which basically just protect your chromosomes. So we were looking at those. My question was where they're located in the nuclei and how that relates to the nuclei volume. So I worked on that, getting some pictures of those and using code to get some data on all 20 of the images. As well as, and then draw some conclusions with that and talk about my findings. So all of those little dots right there are telomeres inside the nuclei. You can see them concentrated. This was all of the immense amount of data. I had to learn how to keep things organized so that my code could understand it and I wouldn't get completely lost. And so that was super awesome. And then where I lived with another intern, Jacob, he's going to speak soon, at an Airbnb. We both got our own rooms and bathrooms, and it was super great. We were living with there was a family who was a professor and his family who Airbnb'd part of their house to us, and it was a pretty quick commute to the lab every day. And then these are some activities I did outside the lab. I'm going to go through them quickly, but really there were a lot. So right here, this was our lab garden that we had, as well as there were a lot of things we did with the lab as a group. Like this was sending off one of our lab members who was going on to have his own lab in Germany. Right here, they brought us to a lot of museums, which was super awesome because Boston area had super, super great museums. So here was the Museum of Natural History. These are all glass flowers from the 1800s that are purely made of glass, super awesome. The Museum of Fine Arts right here and right there. And then here was the Museum of Science. This was a cool math exhibit, which I love math, so that was super awesome. And this is our friend Henri, who is they had live animals there, and he was a hedgehog that was real stoic, so he was super cool. Now this was Independence Day, which was super awesome to celebrate in Boston because of all of its super rich history. I found this free Boston Pops concert, which is the orchestra. So I got to be there, get to see the fireworks on the water. If any of you guys have seen Hamilton, I got to see Leslie Odom Jr., which was super, super cool. Yeah. And then I also did a lot of cooking. This was some teriyaki chicken that I made one night. Right there is the Boston Harbor where the Boston Tea Party happened. And I explored when I wasn't at the lab. This, I believe, was on Juneteenth when we had a break. And I went and saw the Harvard campus. And then I was there over my birthday. My mom booked a shoot up there, and my friend saved up money from our job to come and visit me. So we went up to Salem and Maine, which was super close, which is crazy because Colorado, it's a 5-hour drive just to Denver. But in the smaller states up there, it was like an hour and a half all the way up to Maine from Boston. So that was really cool. We got to go see Salem and Maine, and I got to show them Harvard and where I'd been for this whole summer, so that was super, super awesome. And this is just my advice to Pinterns. First, if you're kind of teetering on the edge of if you want to go or not, I just take that chance. They're super awesome working with you to find something that you will enjoy and are interested in. And when you take that chance, it's just great. Really just take all the chances that you can, explore areas out there, figure out public transportation. I mean, learn to live on your own. We're about to be seniors and go off and be adults. And always make the most of every experience. Meet anybody that you can, make friends with anybody that you can, ask questions of these people that have dedicated their lives to science and just live in the area that you're not used to. Always be helpful and respectful of what they're doing and work with them any way that you can. And then these are all of the amazing people that I would like to thank.
Thank you so much.